26% is perfectly accurate, and not remotely Stormtrooper-esque. Shut up. It's fine. It's fine. This is wait, no it's not. This is Jet Force Gemini. I knew if I got 2 swings at this name, I'd get it right. And this is one of those games made by Rare, in that golden age of Rare, where pretty much every single thing they made was completely different, and every single one was completely knocked out of the park. And this game totally continues this theme. However, it does have its fair share of issues, and case in point, I'm playing this on the Xbox One Rare Replay Collection to kind of sort of mitigate one of those issues. So there is a specific reason why you'd want the Xbox One version as opposed to the N64 version, and we'll get to that when we get to it. But the point is, like pretty much every Rare game made at that time, it was pretty damn good. The plot follows 2 young kids and their dog, the last members of the Jet Force, who are quickly ambushed by the forces of the evil Mizar, to which they try and escape their situation, learn that this Ewok-esque group of tribals is basically completely held hostage, and have to go and rescue them, or else they can't save the universe from the evil Mizar. Because Ewoks, it's a thing that happened. I'm not happy about it either, but it is in fact a thing that happened. The story itself is not the greatest, but the writing does have humor here and there, as you'd expect from a Rare game. That said, it also feels a lot darker than most Rare games, and, well, it feels like it's not really serving all that much of an additional purpose, other than to really hit home that the people you are fighting are evil, and the fact that you have to rescue hostages all the time kind of already does that, so the extra cutscenes and the extra layers of dark to the narrative don't really add anything. There's also not really all that much in terms of character development or anything. There's like one moment where you see a little bit of character advancement, and you have to learn that the other 2 members of the Jet Force team are kind of captured and you have to go rescue them. But other than that, there's really no plot progression or anything until like right at the end. The gameplay is a third-person shooter, and once again, this is on the N64, so it's a very early third-person shooter, and for what it's worth, it works pretty well for the most part, but it does have its fair share of issues. In terms of overall control, well, that's actually why I'm playing on Rare Replay. See, the original control scheme was so incredibly awkward and bad that when re-released on Rare Replay on the Xbox One, I'm pretty sure some of the higher-ups basically said, hey, remember that horrible-ass janky control scheme we had for Jet Force Gemini? Let's fix that. And then they released an update patch which did kinda fix it. I mean, it's still janky as all hell, but at least now you can move while aiming instead of having to stand around like a tit while someone shoots your head off, which happened a lot on the N64 version, and that's the sole reason we're playing it on the Xbox One here. The controls, they're not great. They were kind of always sort of awful and awkward. Again, basically you had to stand still, and I think you had to hold Z to swap from movement to aiming, which was incredibly awkward. But now, at the very least, you can swap to an aiming stance and continue running while using the second stick. That's better, but it still feels like this game, even on the Xbox One, even with this new control scheme, still feels like it was designed for a controller with at least 1 more stick and about 8 more buttons, because you can't jump while aiming. Crouching is a pain in the ass, and is incredibly slow, and controls still feel very loose, and it still feels really easy to just die. Other problems this game has, well, it has platforming, which, combined with the control issues, is fun, especially considering there's fall damage, and if you're not getting hurt by fall damage, you're probably dying instantly. That's not very good. My next really big issue with this game is it just has some really incredibly wonky ass pacing. I mean, you start the game and you're going through, your main goal is to go through various areas of each level to kill all the enemies you possibly can to unlock doors to advance, of course, but you also have to find new weapons to unlock hidden areas and stuff, which works out fine. But then you have to go and rescue the Ewoks, and this is where things get really obnoxious really quickly, because each area has a set number of Ewoks, and some will die, likely because of the enemy, or more likely at my hands because I frickin' hate Ewoks. They're almost as bad as Jar Jar Binks. But the point is, they're probably going to die. Now the nice thing is you can repeat areas. When you clear an area, whether you clear it completely or not being irrelevant, you can go back and it will be completely respawned with all the enemies and Ewoks. Perfectly fine. And this is great because it means you can go back, you can collect all the prisoners that weren't killed and all the ones that were to get 100% completion. That's great, except that this is 100% mandatory. Yeah, you can't actually beat this game until you collect all the Ewoks in the game. And no matter how many times you shoot their head off for fun, is going to fix this issue. For whatever reason, to actually beat the game, you have to 100% complete it, and it just requires a lot of backtracking and sometimes grinding depending on the level design, because these guys take like 2 shots and then they die, and some enemies are programmed to go straight for them. Yeah, not great. In addition to this, the pacing is still really janky in a few different ways. For one, the story basically kinda stops for each character once they unlock another character. Now you can hop back into the previous character and that's perfectly fine, but they still take you out of your continuing playthrough to swap to the character select screen just so that you can go back to picking your character and continuing the story. The next problem pacing has, well, when you get to the halfway point in the game, the story stops. And the story will remain stopped for your character until you halfway complete the story as the other 2 characters. Now, there's kind of a story reason for this, but it still just feels weird that I can't continue one character's story until I catch the other 2 characters up. Can't I just sort of assume that the other characters are working alongside my character, as opposed to just standing around like idiots? No? Okay, fine. You have to go and collect all the weapons again as every single character, and I know what you're thinking, okay fine. One character has the weapons, the others don't, they have to go collect it, that's fine, except that there's like this other additional robot character that you rescue as the male character Juno, and once you do that, the other characters have it. That's just bloody inconsistent, and you know, if one character has collected the weapons, the other characters could get that. And that would save a lot of time, a lot of frustration, and a lot of backtracking. Oh, but I'm not done complaining yet, because upgrades. There's only so many instances of upgrades in the game, and they only apply to the character that collects them. And what's really great about this is the final boss, the character that you have to go through the entire game with all 3 characters to get to, is only fought with one specific character, so you'd think you'd probably want to just load that one character up with all the upgrades. Well, if you don't do that, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage, because he is a really tricky boss. Oh, yeah, that's right. I can also complain about the bosses, because for whatever reason, bosses are really awkward on 2 levels. First of all, bosses fight on a weird, like, 2D plane as opposed to a 3D plane, which you would think makes it easier to dodge attacks, but really just makes things awkward because none of the rest of the game actually plays this way. And it just really feels awkward, and avoiding attacks feels almost impossible, and it's really hard to tell if you're actually doing anything to a boss. Unless you have the rocket launcher actively like scanning the boss for weak points, you're never going to know if you're shooting something that will actually damage the boss or not. They are really awkward and kind of just bad. Oh, and that little robot guy you rescue? Yeah, he has weird first-person flying segments which are equally awkward and equally mandatory. That's great. Okay, so basically I've been doing nothing but shitting on this game for the past 10 minutes or so now, and you'd think I'd really hate this game, but I actually really love it. So let's talk about some of the great things. Well, first of all, the level design is excellent. It has a brilliant combination of close quarters combat and huge open areas, and both are utilized excellently. You've got enemies that are like snipers who will utilize both close quarters and far quarters, and it really trips you up. They really like to hide in various corners and like shadows that you just wouldn't notice. And that's why even in the big open worlds, you really have to check all your corners if you're to not get completely murdered. Oh, yeah, and enemies? Enemies are brilliant. There are literally dozens of different types of enemies. Like, yeah, there's a lot of these like generic ant characters, but they all play differently. And they all have their own, like, different AI sets. Like, you've got these little blue ant grunts who just run around like chickens with their heads cut off. And then you've got, like, these brown, like, elite trooper ants that basically just home straight in on the Ewoks. Which is good for you if you're not trying to collect them immediately, because it means you can take them out before they start targeting you. But it's horrible if you're trying to save those Ewoks, because they're going to die instantaneously. Like, seriously, these elite commandos, they're scary. And then you've got these ants with like super long fangs that just fight super aggressively. You've got these zombie guys, which, like I said when I was a kid and first saw these, I want none of this. They can only be hurt by like rockets, and when you first run into them, you don't have them, which is a wee bit terrifying. There's also the huge like drone beetle guys, which are just intimidating as all hell, and the bosses too. They are just really excellently designed enemies. The enemies in this game, awesome. The only enemies I don't really like in this game are the ones with shields, because unless you have like an explosive device, they're pretty much invincible, and they like to hang out in really tight corridors, so getting by them is kind of a pain in the ass. But other than that, the enemies are amazing. Levels are amazing. The weapons are pretty great, although I, once again, wish each character would just sort of have them based on the previous character collecting them, and maybe expand the roster so that all the other characters would get like a different set of weapons that would apply to the other characters. I know that would take up a massive amount of space, but still, it would be a cool idea. And the ones you get are really awesome, from the machine gun to the sniper rifle to cluster grenades to fish food. Because fish food. Seriously, weapons in this game, awesome. And this game really does have a sense of progression to it. Maybe not from a narrative perspective, but from a gameplay perspective, like I said, when you get halfway, the game stops for your characters. But once you get all the characters up to that point, they get like this upgrade, and then suddenly their ability to traverse the world gets even more expanded, and you can find like hidden alternate routes in levels that lead to like secret areas. It is really cool how big this world is, how awesome the exploration is, and how it feels like you're growing stronger as you progress through the game. Yeah, sure, the backtracking is a pain in the ass, but other than that, it's great. Basically, like I said, Jet Force Gemini is a great game in terms of gameplay, but it has a boatload of problems too. You can mitigate some of them by simply swapping control scheme, playing the Xbox One version, but some of the core issues are still going to frustrate people. Backtracking is going to bother you if you don't like that sort of thing. If you're not a completionist, this game will frustrate the ever-living hell out of you. And you know, there is just a lot I dislike, but at the same time, I have to give props to any game that's cynical enough to let you collect the heads you shoot off your enemies to unlock cheat codes, like Rainbow Blood. Seriously, all is forgiven for this. This is pretty amazing. Now, the presentation to Jet Force Gemini, well, it's certainly showing its age, but for the time, pretty impressive. I mean, for one thing, they have all the various enemies, which, like I've said, even the basic ants all have like a variance in terms of their personality and appearance, and their appearance sort of dictates their personality, so you can say, okay, that's that gold ant that pretends to surrender, and as soon as you turn your back, shoots you. Okay, cool. That's the blue ant that runs around and just dies a lot. There's that zombie ant that if I don't blow it up immediately, it's gonna kill me. Oh god. And you know, there is a ridiculous amount of animation here. Like, if you shoot an enemy, it will drop its gun for a sec and then, like, beg for its life or something. And if you've ever played Rise of the Triad, you know that that immediately means you should shoot them. All the different Ewoks have different animations. They'll chase after you. They'll, like, be mining something like they're slaves and throw their pick away and, like, try and call you over or whatever. There's an insane amount of different animation for different characters and different situations. Seriously, visually, it might be showing its age in terms of the character models, but it is really damn advanced and impressive for the time it came from. Audio-wise, well, I don't remember a lot about the music in this game. It was really well done, and I'm not gonna lie, the Jet Force Gemini theme song will be stuck in my head forever. And I mean, it's a rare game. It's gonna have awesome music, even if it's not that memorable. I mean, it's certainly no Banjo-Kazooie, but it's pretty damn excellent all the same. The presentation to Jet Force Gemini is not only impressive for its time, it's impressive today. Now, if you want a copy of Jet Force Gemini on the N64, it's not very expensive. Surprisingly, you can get it for about $10, $15 pretty readily, which is great, but you're gonna have to deal with the control issues that basically mean that if you're aiming at anything, you're gonna be standing around like a tit while you get your face shot off, and that's not great. You could get it on Rare Replay on the Xbox One, which was a budget title, surprisingly. I mean, at launch the thing was $30, and you get 30 games. The only downside being you have to actually own an Xbox One, which is not cheap, and I'm not sure I can recommend buying an Xbox One for, like, the 2 or 3 games I would recommend for it. But still, if you got an Xbox One, you absolutely need this disc on it, because it is just that damn good. And at the end of the day, Jet Force Gemini, while I think it is definitely one of the weaker titles Rare released at the time, I mean, come on, it's no Blast Core or anything. It's still a great game in its own right. Yeah, it's got about as many problems as it does have things I can praise it for, but still, it's a great game. And, I mean, I can only think of one game on the N64 Rare made that I don't like, and this one sure as hell ain't it. This game comes highly recommended if you have an N64 or an Xbox One and you don't have it already.